hang on so I can record it. So it seems like it's recording. The recording is going to be available next week. So I'll send everybody the recording. Okay, and you so welcome everybody. My name is Isabel Bombardier, and I'm the tech trainer for East Bronx Public Library. And thank you so much for supporting our library, and we're very happy to provide useful training for all of you for free. So so we're gonna start. I'm gonna send you the lesson, the link for the lesson in case you don't have it. If it's on Slack, so if you have Slack, it's there, but I'm gonna put it today here so everybody can follow along. If it allows me to copy this, and there's still people joining. So for today, I'll ask you to just make any questions on the Zoom chat. If you are comfortable with Slack, you can ask your questions on the Thursday class channel, so I can look in one place. If you send me a private message, I'm not going to be able to see it as speedy as I would like to see it. So if you have a comment, I have a beginner's class. We'll see, maybe in the spring. Always see. I taught one in the fall and last spring, so I may do one in the spring if there is enough interest. But they've been asking me to do an intermediate to Python. Some of you have been really interested, so that's why I'm offering intermediate to Python. So if you go to the chat, you're gonna find the lessons for today. And you just click on that link and you're gonna find this document. And you can bookmark it on your browser so you can keep it. If you are using Zoom, you can make your Zoom screen smaller and make another browser on the side so you can watch the class and then follow along on the side. So you can split the screen. Some people use a tablet or a phone to look at the Zoom class, and then they use their computer to follow along. So whatever is easier for you, but those are some of you have told me they do that. So the idea is to use this time for you to practice and feel comfortable trying something new. Maybe you're here because you took class 10 or 20 years ago and you want to restart, or longer. There have been people here that took classes way more than 20 years ago and they wanted to rekindle the fun of programming. And so take your time here. This is your time where you can ask questions and you can experiment, try something new, and there is no judgment. Here's not a competition. Who is better? The only thing you should care is you're going to make a note of what you know today and what you're able to do with Python today, and then compare it how much you have progressed at the end of the class, at the end of the series, which is we're going to have 4 classes. So in the first class, just reflect about your journey. This is your learning. I'm not holding you accountable. You hold yourself accountable on your learning. So I just providing a guide and also a helping hand for you to try something new that maybe you wouldn't have tried by yourself. And we use the Slack channel. Today we're going to use the Zoom to interact and ask any questions. So, so we have 28 now. And if you have any questions, write it on the chat for now or on Slack. So then let me make this a little bit bigger because it's even small for me. So you should have got the handout tools and gear. So I'm gonna go through that. If you are already took intro to Python and you know you feel comfortable using your CS 50 IDE, I would suggest you go to this Thursday class and go here where it says refresh your understanding of Python and click on this lesson and try to do those exercises while I get everybody up to speed on what this class is about and what you need to be successful in this class. Okay, so sorry, I'm checking to see if everybody is here. See, the first class is always a little bit slower because I have to check everybody, all of you that are new in this class. So again, if you have done Python before, you were with me last November, just go here, click here and try to get reacquainted with the CS50 IDE and try to run some test script and just to get warm up while I go through everybody's, teach everybody how to use all the tools we need. So most of you should be on Slack. So Slack is a collaboration tool. Similar, if you have WhatsApp, it's similar to that. It can go on your app, on your phone, or you can run it on a browser. It's a free tool. So if you have not received an invitation to Slack, send me an email. And at the end of the class, I'll send you the invitation. But I have 41 people, so I think that everybody is here. Then we have something here in Slack called channels. So these are the channels. So you should have access to the how-to guides, more training, Thursday class, the welcome 2021. You should be able to see all this on your channel. We're gonna use the Thursday class to enter all the discussions, all your questions, like we have here, Jin Yang was asking. So I'm gonna look at this to answer questions. And you can also, if you know the answer and I haven't looked at the question, you can also pitch in and help a fellow participant. So when you write on the channel, everybody can see it. So everybody can see everything. So it's a great communication tool. If you want to send a direct message, for example, I have here, this is mine, but I can choose to send a direct message to any of you that are listed here, and nobody is going to see that message. Okay, so if you want to send a direct message that is private, you don't want anybody else to see, you just click on my name and just send me a message. You can type. And that's it for now. The good thing also here, everything stays in Slack, so you can save information and you can always go back here if you need something. So for example, on Thursday class, I always put the notes that we're gonna be using that day. So you're gonna see here, I have a note here for the people who already took Intro to Python, so they are entertained while I'll show everybody how to do this class. Then I have here the notes for today. So if tomorrow you don't find the email that I send you, you can just go here and click on the lessons. And then I always put the Zoom link here for the class. So you can also, I'll send an email with a Zoom link, but I also add it to this poster here on Slack. Okay, so here on Welcome 2021, I just put your display is cutting off on Zoom. Okay, thank you for letting me know. Is this better? Yeah, try to make it smaller. I'm using a new system, so the best way since there is a lot of windows I have open, the best way to call my attention is just when we are here on Thursday, just type all the comments. So if it's still cutting, let me know here on the Thursday class. Okay, so that's for Slack. And here you go to Welcome 2021. I have put some tutorials on how to use Slack. Yeah, there is a lot of slacking going on right now. Okay, so this is, okay. Okay, so let's try to do any comments to Thursday class. So let's go, the next thing on the list. So you all have Zoom, and some of the classes are gonna be on YouTube. I will let you know in advance when it's gonna be on YouTube, because we only have 2 Zoom accounts at the library, so I had to share it with other people. I will let you know, and the Zoom will come up when you go to East Brunswick Public Library YouTube. It'll be posted there, so you'll be live. There'll be like some videos, and at the bottom it say live, and you click live, and then you can see the class on YouTube. And okay, so now we're getting to the interesting part. We're gonna use an IDE. So the IDE is the app that we use to run Python. I'm gonna use a web-based, a cloud-based app called CS50 IDE. And for this class, that's the only IDE I'm gonna use, because it just makes easier standard for everybody, and is run on the cloud. So you don't have to get an IDE and download it to your computer and then update it and do all the authorizations that you have to do to run an IDE from your computer. So if you want to go through the experience on downloading an IDE, you're welcome to, but I'm gonna concentrate on the CS50 IDE only. And if that one doesn't work, we're gonna do another one called Reply that is also web-based, but that's the only IDE that I'm gonna use. If you use another IDE, that's fine with me, but I cannot provide you with support on how to use the IDE since we are virtually. So that's the reason I'm not using another IDE. So to access to the IDE, you need a GitHub account. So you have to create a GitHub account. If you haven't created a GitHub account, you can go here to the tutorial and create a free GitHub account. With the GitHub account, you can go and log into the CS50 IDE. So it's like, for example, if you use Google to sign up into maybe Grubhub or another app, this is the same thing. You're using GitHub to sign up to that. So this is the CS50 IDE, and I have very good videos here that takes you step by step how to create an account on GitHub and then access the CS50 IDE. And then I'm using a Chrome web browser. If you're using Internet Explorer or Firefox, that's fine, but I found that Chrome is the one that works for me. But if you use Firefox and it's not working or another browser, you might want to switch to Chrome just for the moment. What else I was gonna say? Okay, so any questions so far about CS50 IDE or Slack? There is a 5-second delay, so I just waiting a second to see if anybody is typing any questions. Okay, so if you are familiar with terminal commands, that's awesome. If you are not familiar with terminal commands, I have here a complete guide. I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of today. These are all some of the commands you have to know. This is something that we went through on the intro to Python, but if you miss intro to Python, don't worry. I have here some very nice tutorials, screenshots. They don't have audio, but you can follow along, and they tell you how to use the CS50 IDE, how to move between folders, and how to run Python on CS50 IDE. Okay, so let's go to the CS50 IDE, and I'm going to show you, this is mine. If you are new using this IDE, it's going to be, all this part is going to be empty. So all these files are files that have been uploading for the last 6 months. So that's why I have so many. You're not going to have any. If this is your first time using the CS50 IDE, you're not going to have any. If you took my class last fall, I'm sure you are going to have a couple or maybe a bunch. So the first thing is you have to be aware. Let me go to the main directory. Okay. So I'm right here, the top directory and workspace. So you can see here it says workspace. So now I need to navigate, and this is very small now. Let's see if it goes a little bit big. Okay, so you can see here, I'm here on this label, and I need to go to this label where it says a.myfile. You don't have to do that. If I just gonna do it because that's where I keep my files, but that's where I need to go. So I'm gonna do ls, which is gonna show me all the directories, and it's just to verify I'm in the right directory. And then I'm gonna do cd to go to the folder where I want to be, which is, for me, is my file. For you, should maybe something else, or maybe you don't have any and you just stay put where you are. So I did this wrong because I typed something wrong. And if you notice I'm typing something wrong, you can let me know, because if you took a class with me, you know that sometimes I spaced out because I have so many things in my mind. So right now it's telling me something is wrong because I'm not in the right directory. So let's do ls. And I think I went down too far up, and it's not finding any files. So the good thing here, I just gonna refresh this and start anew. So that's one of the things about this file is things don't work out the first time, you can just make it happen again and you start anew. So this is how you get into the CS50 IDE. And now it took me to the same place. So, oh, silly me. I just have to put workspace because that's the only directory. And then ls, and then there it is, my file. So cd my file. So that's how you navigate down into a directory, and then you do ls and you get a list of all the directories. So you're gonna see here, all the directories are gonna match right here. There's gonna show me all this stuff. So that's where I wanna be. So any questions so far about the CS50 IDE? I know it's a lot. Okay, everybody's set. Okay, good. So one of the things with Python you have to be very careful is the indentation. Indentation is very important in Python, and it tells you the level of nesting in Python. So if you want to know more about the indentation, you can click here and read the article about it. One of the things that we learned last that we need to refresh is that we're gonna use user input. So on intermediate Python, we deal more with string in data and manipulating text. So one of the things you have to learn is how to ask for a user input. A user input will be asking somebody their name and using the name and print it out. So for example, here I have an example, maybe. Okay, so here it's gonna ask for a name. So I'm gonna run that one. I'm gonna do Python string 0 py. Oh, I misspelled something. You have to be very careful and not misspelling py. And see, I'm gonna move this in case you guys can see it. You all can see this. Okay. So that's the user input. So that's what is called here, this get string, this line here is what is making the what's your name show up. And this function called get string is gonna come from a library called CS50. So you have to use this line. One of the things you can do is you have right now the CS50 open. You can take all this text, or you can go here, copy. You can copy into a file. So you can go here, file, new, and then paste it. So it'll paste what you took from here, it'll paste right here. And then you're gonna save it as a Python file. So you're gonna go file, save as, and then you're gonna choose the location. So I'm gonna choose the location right here. And then I'm gonna call it string. I'm gonna put 00 because I already have a file called 00. And I'm gonna put the extension, the file extension is py for Python. So that's required. You have to save it as a py. So make sure you put in the right file and call it py, the file extension, and you save. No, I don't want to overwrite it. So I already have a file called that way. So I'm gonna have to put do something else, resave it as something else. So I'm gonna do string 000 py, And then I'm gonna save it right here. And now it's gonna be saved under this folder right here. So I hear the slacking, but I don't see. Oh, can you please this code, for example, in chat here, and we can try on our side. If you are, I'm gonna put it on Slack. If you don't have this open, you can put this open. If you have this file, you can take it from this file and put it here or anywhere on your IDE. I'm gonna put it on Slack. So that's one of the things. The chat is gonna be very cumbersome. So if you are already on Slack, it's just better to just put it right here. So I'm gonna copy on Slack and I'm gonna put as a code. So there is a code feature here. And then you can copy paste it into the IDE that you're using. And then you can run it and test it out. So that's a good idea. You should, I would suggest you, while I'm giving the example, you are doing the same thing on your side. And if you get stuck, that's when you let me know I'm stuck, something went wrong, and you can share with me the compiler code, or you can share with me the code and I can maybe quickly, if I can quickly find out, or maybe somebody else can point out how can we improve it. Okay, so now I was running this one and I went crazy. So let me finish this one. Okay, so this is a user input. So it's asked me for the name. I give them a name, and then it's gonna print out a string that I already supply. A string is in quotes, and it says here, and then it's gonna take the user input right here, which is called answer, and it's gonna add it to this string. So this is a concatenation. So you're taking a variable, an input that the user is giving you, and then you're putting it inside your string. So you can imagine that you can do a lot with that. You can actually ask more questions and maybe put more concatenations. You can put here maybe another question, and then at the end you're going to have a string of strings mixed with the user input. So so that's one of the things to practice. And here I have the input, the output of that function. Other things, another ways to deal with strings are with format strings. So you can test, instead of doing what I did here, with the hello plus, you can try to do this one. So this is another way to concatenate user inputs and string. And to turn off, I'm gonna comment off. So that line is not gonna run. And anytime you make a change to the file, you need to save it. So you can go here, save, or you can do Control S. And this, when you put the F string, you notice that you don't have to use the plus sign, use this curly braces, and they save you a lot of time, especially if you have to add more variables. So that'll run the same way. And then see, this has the same output, even though I changed the code a little bit. So any questions so far? No, I'm waiting for some questions. Okay. So the next things, I'm just doing a review of all the things that we need to know for this class. So in Python, we have different data types. So some of the data types are Boolean, true, which are true and false, floats, which are real numbers. We're not going to do floats in this class. We're going to do integers, which are all the numbers, and strings. And strings are always on quotes. Okay, if you copy and paste it and you don't have indentation in your code, right now the codes we have done don't require indentation because you are not requiring a label. You are not, what's the word I'm looking for? You're not nesting. So nestings are gonna be next. I'm gonna show you where the indentation is coming next. So for these simple codes that I have shared so far with you, there is no nesting required. So you don't need to do any indentation. So here I put a review of all the types of Python types. We're gonna be using only the ones in orange. We're gonna be using, in this class, we're gonna be using lists, dictionaries, and sets. We're not gonna use the other one. So I'm gonna show you this class. The goal of this class is that in 4 weeks, you are able to do simple scripts with lists, dictionaries, and sets. And lists, we're gonna do them today. And lists are just a sequence of values. And if you took C, in C, there will be arrays. And the good thing is list is that you can put different kind of values. You can put strings with integers, and you can manipulate them too. And we're gonna do an example soon. And dictionaries, we're gonna do it next week. And sets also, we're gonna do it next week. For the CS50 library, we're gonna be using the get string, and you saw the example that I just did. We use, this is a library, a function, a built-in function in Python called getString, and you have to call the CS50 library. So the way you call it, you say, you write from CS50 and then import getString. So you're gonna get only that function, built-in function for getString. And then here are some other ways to write it. So you can get floats, integers. Of course, you can also type import CS50, so you import everything, but it's gonna bring a lot of things. So it's gonna mess up a little bit your memory, but you can also do that, or you can put from CS50 import all these functions. I have put here a Python review. So after this class, you can click here and take a look and get a little bit of a review. So I'll go, some things that you might want to review are counters, conditions, and Boolean expressions. So you can put that code into your CS50 IDE and see if you get the same output. And then we do some looping here. So I just put that in case you need a quick review of Python, which is what we did last fall. Okay, so any questions so far before we move to functions?
I have a question regarding
Sure.
GitHub.
Yes.
So basically, when we what's the function of GitHub? You know, it's, if we want to collaborate, if let's say we want to share this code with someone and to collaborate to improve it, how do we do that, and how do we run? Can we run this code in GitHub as well?
I don't use Discord, so I wouldn't know how to use it. GitHub, I don't go through GitHub. GitHub is a collaboration tool for software developers and coding computer scientists. I don't touch that in this class. Maybe in the future I can let people know I can run a class, but we don't do anything in this class with GitHub. If you're interested in learning GitHub, I can point you some tutorials, but we don't do anything with GitHub. We use only the username, the login of GitHub to use the CS50 IDE. So does it
Okay,
make any
thanks.
sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. So, but yeah, that's a very common question. But I haven't found the need to use GitHub so far in these classes, because you have to know more than I teach here to be able to collaborate. But if you are thinking about getting a job in the industry, you might want to start learning GitHub and putting all your projects into GitHub. That's one of the things I'll tell all people who are trying to get a job, is because that's the way you can put your what you know, and employers will check up your GitHub account to see what's your level of expertise and mastery. Okay, so, but we're not going to use that. It's not a scope for this class. So this scope is this class to learn how to do list, how to prepare you to move on maybe to SQL, so manage strings, manage data with lists, dictionaries, and sets, and how to manage strings. Okay, so functions. So if you wanna, this is a quick review of function. In Python, you have to define a function, and this is where you're gonna start using indentation. So you're gonna write the function here. So my function, that's the name of the function. You can name it whatever you want, but I'll call it my function, and parentheses and column, and then indent, and then you're gonna put the action that that function is gonna do. So the action here is just to print hello from function. And then here is where you're gonna call the function. So this here, my function, is where you call the function. So you can have different functions all the way to the top, and then you're gonna start calling all the functions. So the output for this function is just gonna print hello from function. So, but this is the structure, the syntax to write a function. So for example, on this conditional function, so we have here a conditional, and you can see now that indentation is becoming more frequent. So for this is a condition to test if a number is positive. So it's gonna run until you have a positive number. So if you enter a negative number or enter 0, it's gonna ask you for another number. And then when you enter a positive number, it'll quit. So this is the function. So that's the way you call it. So they're gonna call the function, that's the main function. This asks you for the number. So here is get int, and then you put here the function, and then you call it. So let's run that one, and you can see how it's built. So I have here the positive. So I just type it here. So if you want, I can take this to Slack so you can run it. Where is my Slack? Okay, so I'm gonna put, yeah, so there you can take that code and put it into the IDE, or you can take it from the class notes. So I'm gonna run this project, this script. It's called positive, and you can see how it works. And with functions, you just have to run it a couple times and try to break it and then build it up. So you can go and start moving things, and then try to fix it if it doesn't work. That's the good way to learn. And one of the things is with computer science, you have to experiment and try and try and try and follow tutorials and try to do, remember, like it's a muscle memory. You have to like try things, follow along, and then things will come on to you. Wisdom will come after the mechanical steps. So it's a funny thing, but it always happens. You have to do it manually and then you'll understand what you're doing. So I'm going to write Python positive, and then that one, then py. Did I write it correct?
There's a typo.
Yeah, there is a typo, isn't it? Thank you. Positive 1 py. Okay, so it's going to ask me for an integer. So I'm going to put 0, and 0 is going to ask me for another one. So it keep asking me, and I'm going to put -9. And it can go on and on and on and on. While it's going to go on and on and on. Anybody knows why it's going to keep going and going forever? You can
Because
answer
it
me
did
in
not put
Slack or,
any,
yep,
because there is no limit that you put in. The only
yeah.
limit is that
And
you know
what
what
is
is
the
it?
expression that making it go forever?
There is a loop.
Yeah, which one is the while? Yeah, it's the while true. So the while true is Python for a forever loop. So if you were taking C, sure, it looks different. So in Python, you're gonna have while true, you're gonna keep running. So this is if n is if n is greater than 0, break. So if it's when I enter a positive, like if I enter here 8, it's gonna break. It's the end. But if I keep doing it, because it's not true, it's still false, is the whole statement false, it's gonna ask me forever until I enter a positive number. So so this is one of the things of Python, logical construction. So it's so this is the function here, and the way it works is it's gonna get it's getting here. So the main function, the definition make function, is calling for this one. So it's an interesting thing it's doing. So I'm gonna put 8 and it's gonna quit. You can go and change it a little bit. So as you can see here, this is the user input. User input construction. So here's the user input. So remember we did get string before. So this is get int. So this is get int. And then I'm gonna call, this is a function to print the number. So this is gonna print it. So, and nowhere here it says to print the positive. So this function prints the positive number, and this function is gonna test for the positive number. And then I put here main. So this is an interesting, more higher level function, because you're using, this is the base function, and then you are taking, you are concatenating, embedding, you are calling this function here. So you have two functions, but one depends on the other. So so that's a very that's a higher level of function. So if you don't understand how this works, I would suggest you to run a couple times and change it a little bit. Maybe you think, oh, I think it should be this way, and see what happens. Or maybe you can turn off some of these lines and see what happens. And when you put the pound, you are turning off that line. And then if you wanna fix it again, you can unquote, but you have to be careful with the, I messed up the indentation, so it might run an indentation problem. So that's the only thing you have to be careful when you put the pounds. Also, I would suggest you do not delete code, just put the pound, because it's a good exercise to just comment it off and don't delete it, because you might want, it's a process of thinking while you are trying to understand. And the way I learn how something works, I have to break it and then build it up, and I have to find my own way to understand the code. Okay, so this is the function. So this is one of the structures we're gonna be using in this level. Okay, so now we're going to list, and if you took C or any other program before, this is almost like an array. Like when I took computer science, I call it array, but in Python, they call it list. So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna iterate through a list or an array. So the way it works in a list, so if you have a list here, the length of the list is 5. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has 5. So that's the length. So only 5 strings items can live inside this list. The index starts with 0. So the first item is 0. The next item is 1. The next one is 2. The next one is 3. The next one is 4. So this index, so if I say index 0, I'm referring, so if I say print index 0 only, it's gonna print A. If I say print index 3 only, it's gonna print L. So that's the way you can go through, you can run through the list. So it's called looping. You can loop, and also you can also do a range, maybe print range from 0 to 3. So 0 to 3 will be 0, 1, and 2, and you don't include the last one. So I have an example here. I have a my list, and this is a list that has one letter as a string, and I'm gonna print the length. So the length is a built-in function, len, and this is the way it works. And that's gonna print, the output's gonna be 5. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So don't get it confused with the index. The index will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, so let's go to the other example. So these are different kind of lists. So you can have words, and the way separate the list is with a comma, and a list always go with a bracket. So you know, if it's a bracket, it's a list. You can also put integers divided by commas. You can put booleans, and you can also mix it up. You can have strings and numbers and booleans. And the way it's gonna read it, the same thing. This is index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So, and then looping through strings. So for example, this example here, I'm gonna store a string in the letter A. So this is variable A. I'm gonna store this long string hello world into A. I'm gonna print A index 0. So what letter will it print? See if anybody knows, you can put it on the chat or in Slack. So what letter of all of this will print? And remember, this is a string. So each little letter, it will be plus. Python will take the long string and put each letter between commas in a list. Yeah, so it'll be H. Good job, good job. So if I do 1, it'll be E, and so on. And you can test it out. You can copy this and put it on your IDE. So that's the way, this is the way Python would read it. It will take this string and put each letter between commas. Of course, it'll put quotes because Python has to have quotes for letters, otherwise it won't read it. It'll read something else. So the way you tell Python this is a letter is put in quotes. So it'll take each one. So this is a pretty cool, and even the space. So even the comma, this comma will go into its own position in a list, and the space between the comma and the W will also require a space in the list. And you can try that. So now we can loop through a string. So for example, we have here get string, and the user enters a word, and then we're gonna loop through it. So if I enter hello, so if I get ask me for a word and I say hello, and the output here is gonna be, it's gonna loop through each one. So you can see here is I. So this I is the index, and it's gonna change. So the first value of this I in Python is 0. So you're gonna see it's gonna print H. Then it's gonna go, it's a for loop, so it's gonna go up again, and it's gonna print the next index, which is what is after 0 is gonna print 1, and it's 1 is gonna be E, and so on. And what is the last index is gonna print. So this is length of this list. So the list is stored into S, and the length of the string in this case is gonna be 5. So it's gonna, you always put an extra, the range, you have to put like, if you want, if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you always put the length, so you, the last letter is enter. So let's run that one. Which one was that? What's the name? 0W. Oh, here it is. So I'm gonna put this on Slack so you can run it at the same time. That's the best way to learn, is to run it at the same time. And see what happened. And I'm gonna have to Python string 0W2. So I have to put the name of the file here. Okay, so I'm gonna put hello. Let me move this up so it doesn't cut up. So that my user input here is gonna ask me for a user input. So see, it says input, I'm gonna put hello. And then this hello is gonna be stored in a variable S. And so this is the output. It's gonna print output, and then it's gonna go to the next line, and then it's gonna run a loop, and the loop is gonna print, the value of the index. So it's gonna be when I is 0, start with 0, it's gonna print H. When the value is 1, it's gonna print what is gonna be print. If it's the value of S is 1. Anybody knows? So if the value of this I is 1, what is gonna print? You can write it on Slack or put it on the chat.
E.
Anybody knows? E?
Letter
Somebody
E.
said E?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's correct. So the next one is gonna be E equal 2. So what is gonna print? L, and then E equals 3 is gonna be, so is this E is 3, L, very good. And then if the E is 4, yeah, exactly, it's gonna print O. Can the E be 5? No, that's the correct answer. The E cannot be 5. Why? So what is, remember I told you length, len is the length of the string. What is the length of the string? So the length of the string is 5. And we're using range. So when you do range, let me go here to the review. And that's one of the things I have here on the review. You're gonna go from 0 to 5. So you need a quick review of how range works. So it's gonna go, if it's a range of 3, it will be, the values of I is gonna be 0, 1, and 2, no 3, okay? So if you say range, so this is another one to do it, but this is more complicated. So that's why it's not gonna print another one. If you put here, instead of length, you put 5, it's gonna be the same result, because it's gonna print 0 to 5. If you print, if you go to the next one, if you put 6, it'll create an error, because the computer is gonna be like, there is nothing after. So, but you can put, instead of, you can put this like that. Let me show you. You can rewrite this like this. So now it's gonna print 0 and 1, only those index. So you can cut something. So maybe you just want some to not have all these other letters. So you can, so that's one of the things maybe you wanna try to experiment changing the range to see what you get. Okay, so let's see what is the last thing, and then we have to go until next Thursday. So I would suggest you try to practice everything that we did here. And then the last one is the names. So you can put in a list, you can put actually names, and each one is gonna be like the letter we just did. So this is gonna be one item, this is one item, this is one item. So Bill is gonna be index 0, Charlie is gonna be index 1, and so on. So you can see how this is becoming also more applicable, because you can have maybe an Excel sheet and combine it. You can have a list of data and put it in a list. And then this one is gonna find. So it's going to actually compare if Ron is in the list. So if this is the name of the list is, so you have to put a pound here. Names, all this start with names. So if Ron in names, print found. else, do not say not found. So this is gonna find, look, it's gonna do a search in the list. This is called a linear search. A linear search is when you compare one item with each item, one item with each item, one item with each item. So the computer is going, is this Emma? Is this Emma? This is Emma. This is Emma. So when it finds it quits. So maybe David, is this David? No, go to the next one. Is this David? No, go to the next one. And so on until it finds David. So that's a linear search. So this is the way we do linear search. You notice here we have a new library called SYS, and that's what is gonna make the exit. So it's gonna exit when it finds the number, the item. So here are other ways that you can manipulate strings, a list. You can put, you can call a list like this. You can do empty list. You can append. So you can do a lot of other things with list. You can also, actually, you can do this. I don't know why I have, you can do an empty list like this. So that's an empty list, and then you can add items to that list. So there's a couple tutorials here I include. You don't have to have EDX to look at these videos. You just click and it'll go to the video. And here's some information. Here more information about Python loops, and if you need a review. And here are other things that you can try on your own. You feel like you're master everything on this lesson. These are all other challenges you can try on your own. And if you need any help, let me know on Slack. I'm almost always on Slack. And if not, you can send me an email. So any questions before we wrap it up? I know it's been a lot, but if you, I'm gonna try to break it down so everybody can try a little script. And if you need to take the class again, it's fine. The main thing is encourage everybody to try. This is a new year, so maybe you want to try something new, and there is no shame on trying.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. My name is Jay, and I have a quick question. In that Notion, in the bottom, the Python list and loops, looks like you have a PDF file there, but I don't see it in my Notion. Yeah, that one, I don't have it.
Did you scroll all the way down?
Right, right. I see here Python list and loops, but it's just blank for me. I don't know about others
Oh, it
though.
might be the flash not working.
Oh, okay, okay.
So you might see something here on your browser, like an eye that's blocking, because this is running some other application, but you should be able to click on it.
Okay.
And it's because this is, yeah, so you might want to refresh it or try another browser. Let me put this in Code Academy. I'm gonna copy the link and see if that works.
That'll be
Somebody
great.
has a question about this, what is SIY? So that's a library. That's a good question. So have you seen before, it says import get string. So from CS50 import get string. So the same thing we're doing here, but with another library called SYS. So we put SYS. And what it is it's kind of like a key. So if you put sys exit 0, so we get this from the library SYS, it's just like a keyword, like a key easy thing. So the 0 means exit and the 1 means it'll try again. So it's just something that we're gonna be using. This is another structure that we're gonna be using. So you just have to learn 0 is it'll exit, and then a 1, it'll try again. And go ahead and run this on your own and see if it works. If it doesn't work, let me know.
Oh, I have a quick comment. I don't know that you are able to hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so the just your earlier comments, this exit 0 and 1. 0, I think, is success and 1 is failure. Is that not true?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
how it
So
is usually in Unix. So I don't know much about
yeah,
this.
exactly. It's the same one. It's the same one. So
Same. Oh, okay.
so it's a success because it finds it. So you are
Oh, okay.
done. So
Okay.
yeah, that yeah, the same thing. Same
Okay.
thing. So it's
Okay.
bringing the um the syntax that you are familiar with into Python.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome. So what's the difference between CS50 import and just import CYS? The difference is CS50 import is bringing the library CS50. So there is a library called CS50, which it has a lot of built-in functions called get string, get integer, get float, and so on, and much more. So this is a library that is built so you don't have to recreate the, you know, make this function from scratch every time you want to use them. So it's a library that lives in CS50. If you go into another IDE, it might call something else. It have another documentation. That's why we're using the same IDE, everybody. So we can have a baseline. And then the CSYS is like the previous person explained, is it brings some other built-in functions. So that's just a library called SYS. Okay, those are all great questions. Yeah, if you don't have any questions, you can leave, and you can leave anytime. I know everybody's busy, so you don't have to tell me. This is your journey. This is you're in charge your own learning. So you don't have to, I'm here to give you encouragement and, you know, encourage you and walk with you through this journey. So if you are ready to go, you know, just leave and have a good night. I'm gonna stay for 5 more minutes in case anybody has any questions. This is our first class and I understand it's a lot. And I don't want to scare anybody. I want to encourage everybody to take their time. And even if you don't understand and you still want to try it, stay and try. And then next time things might be easier. Next class, I have a list of what we're going to cover, but I don't remember right now. But you'll have it next week because I'll make my lesson plan in advance. So I'll share it with you by Tuesday but we're gonna be doing more list and more direct, maybe dictionaries. Well, you guys have a great night and thank you for being here. I'm gonna turn off my camera, but if you have any questions, I'll be here. And I'll be here on Slack too. Okay, bye-bye.